And we do have one speaker in the audience, Rosalie Cosbelt.
Hello. So I'm here to ask you to consider the situation of the short Wednesdays at the elementary schools. I want to reiterate, in case anyone is still listening that was here, that I'm not here to get rid of short Wednesdays. I'm not interested in debating that issue. I am looking for the school board to consider the fact that there is almost no support for people who have difficulty on short Wednesdays, particularly at Mount Daniel. So one of the things I want the school board to consider is that Mount Daniel and TJ need to be coordinated. So anyone who has more than one child, most likely, if that's not a twin, is going to run into this situation of having children in multiple schools and needs any sort of care. So I sent an email, and I just wanted to reiterate, I guess only 3 of my 4 suggestions are actually even viable, but one is you could consider moving short Wednesday to short Friday, because lots of people have flexible schedules on Fridays and do not have flexible schedules on Wednesdays. I'm a person who works for the federal government. All of our mandatory meetings are scheduled on Wednesdays because most people are in the office on a Wednesday. And I work in immigration, and we are constantly having emergency meetings, you can imagine, because of the craziness that happens in our lives now. And so these aren't even meetings that I can afford to put in for leave. These are meetings that I have to be there. And I just don't have another option, right? So, so number one is you can move it to Friday because very little is happening on Friday. Number 2, I'd love if you wanted to coordinate with just 1, 2, or 3 organizations. Baruti is the one that comes to mind. Baruti services TJ. I don't know why they don't service Mount Daniel. I would love if they did. And number 3 is you have an aftercare program. It used to accept Wednesday only students. You could see about paying someone to stay on Wednesdays. That's obviously more money and more time on your part, but I think any of those things would work. I just want to say I think this is the right thing to do. Lots of people work around here. If you do this, I'll only ever get 1 year out of it. I'm here because I genuinely believe this is the right thing to do. I don't think it's fair to expect working parents to individually solve this problem. And you have a wonderful morning care program, you have a wonderful aftercare program, you have a school lunch program. The school board takes care of all these things that they don't have to. And I feel like this is one more area where you could take a look while you're rearranging your calendar and consider that maybe short Wednesdays, 1 or 2 options for the youngest kids in the school district would be super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cosbelt. Next on our agenda, 6.01, is our VSBA Media Honor Roll recognition. And tonight we are honoring, Nick Benton and Mac Delaney from the Falls Church News Press. Nick is the publisher and editor-in-chief, and Matt is the news editor and reporter. I'll just read what it says. It says, the Falls Church City School Board recognizes your fair and balanced reporting on school division and education relation topics. Your work has aided this community in focusing on the goal of providing the best public schools we can for the children who attend them. So if you'd like to come up, I'll present you with your certificates. And now I have the privilege of also recognizing school board members, and I believe maybe even our superintendent, with our VSBA Academy Awards. VSBA is the Virginia School Board Association. I have one here for Mr. Anderson. You've received an award of achievement and a pin. That means that he has 24 credits this year. Next, we have Justin Castillo. You have an award of recognition. You have had 15 credits this year, no pin. Sorry. Next is Shannon Litton, an award of achievement, and you also get a pin. Phil Reidinger, award of recognition, 15 credits, no pin. Shauna Russell, award of recognition, sorry, no pin. And Lawrence Webb, award of achievement, and you do get a pin. This is that. And finally, for Dr. Noonan, also an award of recognition, but no pin, sorry.
Well, I have one for you as well, Chair Gill, an award of recognition. Sorry, no pin.
So thank you to everyone for attending the VSBA continual learning opportunities that we have. Everyone works hard to stay up on the latest issues in school board. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. I would seek unanimous approval to adopt the consent agenda approve the consent agenda as presented. Right, seeing no objections, so moved. Next, I think Mr. Anderson has an addition.
Yeah, at this point, I'd like to move to amend the agenda and for the school board to take a unanimous agreement to take a vote on the superintendent's renegotiated contract without the 30 days notice as provided in Virginia Code 22.1-60, Section D.
Is there a second to amend the agenda? Mr. Reidinger? All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Opposed or abstain? All right.
Motion, sorry, I should have done that differently. I would also like to move that the school board unanimously agree to take a vote on the superintendent's renegotiated contract without the 30 days notice as provided in Virginia Code 22.1-60D.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Webb. All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed or abstain? Okay, great. So just for context, that we are in the process of renegotiating the superintendent's contract. This has been in process since early in the summer, but due to very busy schedules, we haven't been able to all get in the same room at one time. We all need to be there together to do this. So we are going to be voting on the renegotiated contract next Tuesday. We met tonight to discuss, and but we wanted to make sure that everyone's aware that this isn't, we need to get this done before the election happens, but this is a process that's been going on for a long time. It's not something that has just come up in the last few weeks. So Dr. Newton's been very patient with us as we have attempted to assemble 7 very busy people at the same time for the past few months. But we will, if anyone is interested in that discussion, we will be having it next week. Okay, next on the agenda.
Madam Chair,
oh, yes.
Just a
Yes.
quick point of order for purposes of the statute.
Yes.
I know the voice vote sounded unanimous, but should we do a roll call vote for the purposes?
Ms. Goodell? Sure.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Castillo,
All right,
Ms. Gill,
Aye.
Ms. Litton, Mr. Reitinger,
Yes.
Mr. Russell,
Yes.
and Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have 8.02, placemat update.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. So tonight, I have an opportunity to share with you an update of our FCCPS placemat. And many of you are familiar with the placemat. We've talked about it last year. And it was essentially a one-page document that began to outline what were our 3 big goals and big ideas that we were going to be working on throughout the school year. And it became a tool for us that was quite successful, actually, in communicating sort of the values of the school division and what we were working on last year. Like in any year, there are iterations and modifications that need to be made, based on the work that's been going on. And so tonight, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you sort of the revised version, working version, if you will, of the FCCPS placemat that is more reflective of some of the things that we've been talking about over the course of the last several months, specifically around international baccalaureate programs, a caring community and culture, and closing achievement gaps. And also within the context of getting really focused around the work that we're going to be spending some time with. So this evening when I share, I'll be sharing two things, and contextually they make sense. The first is the placemat, and the second is the triennial plan that becomes the work plan behind the placemat that you'll see tonight. But one of the things that I want to, as I share with you this revised placemat, there is a core group of people that came together, leaders within our division and some teachers that were responsible for updating the placemat. And so this evening, what I share with you really is their work. And part of that is developing leadership within our own school system and allowing our teams of people to really be the drivers behind this work that's getting done. So one of the things you'll see is sort of some very good language. Also, I hope that you'll see, and I said cleaner, more simple version tonight, and I said that in a way that sounded to maybe not be very positive, and I want that to be a very positive thing because I think the last one was a little bit busy, so it begins to simplify it. So with that, sort of as a backdrop, what I'd like to share with you tonight is the revised version of the 2019-2020 placemat. There is one big idea in here that hasn't changed, and that is our core mission here in the City of Falls Church Schools. We take this core mission very seriously. We think that it is the main driver of our work. There are a couple of things in here that we talk about routinely, and what does it mean? And I think that and because of that questioning and continued focus provides us an opportunity to keep the conversation alive around what our mission is. Because a mission statement, as many of you know, can just kind of sit on a shelf and never be discussed. So just to put it out there for everyone that may be listening at home, Falls Church City Public Schools is student-centered, and that's bold and big because they are our main focus. Innovative and inclusive community of lifelong learners, we aspire to be the premier international baccalaureate school division. We strive to create a personalized environment that supports each child's unique needs and prepares every student to be a responsible, caring, and internationally minded citizen. That to us says volumes about who we are as a community. It's reflective of, I think, what everyone here believes. And the piece that's really interesting that I think has come up a couple of times even within the board and in our own team is that piece about aspiring to be the premier international baccalaureate school division. It's been mentioned a couple of times. Could we just be the premier small school division that also has international baccalaureate? And because we're really spending so much focus this year on really looking at our practices and our work around IB, we wanted to keep it the way that it was so that we could continue to leverage that statement about being the premier international baccalaureate school division because it also keeps us, quite honestly, at the forefront with IBO, the International Baccalaureate, major group in Bethesda, and the International Baccalaureate program continues to ask us questions as we strive to meet that goal. So the first piece that I want to share that kind of pops out at you is this IB for all. And there's a little bit of clarification that needs to be made here, and I'll do that in the context of this piece. But the first is that every classroom in our school division must be infused with the International Baccalaureate instructional practices that are grounded in those approaches to teaching, approaches to learning, and models inquiry. I have been asked a number of times, particularly recently, about, are we making a case? And I think that it's a little bit dicey to say that we're making the case, but what is the value of the International Baccalaureate program versus any other program that you may be involved with? And I will tell you, in my experience, having been, just as an example, the Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Services in a very large school division next door, we had both AP